Welcome to the Energetically You podcast, where we will be talking about healthy habits, abundant mindset, and optimal wellness. I'm your host, Megan Swan, creator of the Sustainable Integrated Wellness Approach. At 30, I sold everything and went on my own eat, pray, love journey, if you will. And now, at 41, I'm still on my first stop here in Mexico, loving life and feeling more energy than ever before. This podcast is for ambitious women who are looking to level up their energy so that they feel happier and more productive throughout their day in all of their projects and passions. Inside, we are going to be talking about ways to truly tune in to our minds and bodies in new ways to leverage our natural energy sources. So let's dive in. Welcome back to Energetically You. Today, I have a very special guest that I'm so excited to get to know better. She goes by the title Sensei Victoria Whitfield. I can't wait to ask her all about the title and what it means to her. As the world's first Business Reiki Master and hostess of the 5-star rated Journeypreneur Podcast on iTunes, Sensei Victoria Whitfield helps empathetic entrepreneurs and leaders stay grounded and clear as they navigate the emotional rollercoaster of business development by using the power of strategic meditation, one of my favorite tools. Sensei Whitfield is a published author, a successful 6-figure energy healer, and has toured the world showing heart-centered and growth-minded leaders how to get connected to their natural intuition and truly be #visionary so they can work less and increase their impact. Welcome, Victoria. And first off, your title is so inspirational, and I want to hear the story behind you becoming a sensei and what that means to you. But first of all, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Well, I am enjoying the day, and I'm so excited to get to talk to you and everyone. Megan, thank you for inviting me.
Awesome. Well, can you tell us your journey to become a sensei and what that means? Because in my idea is it's more of like a martial arts title, but I could be wrong. Please explain.
So here in the West, we have like a strong association with sensei and the martial arts, and especially because martial arts has been brought over by military studying it. So there's a lot of wonderful, powerful, masculine respect for the martial arts. And I love it. I think it's absolutely fabulous. Mm-hmm. And the word sensei in Japanese means teacher. So it is a level of study that one achieves, teacher, that implies that you can pass knowledge to another person. And so the same way that here in the West, if you're going to become a kindergarten teacher, you undergo a certain level of studies so that you can be trusted to take care of little ones, like educating them as well as managing their energy. And at the same time, when you go over to Japan, the kindergarten teacher is addressed as sensei. They're not going to drop kick you in the face necessarily. I mean, some might be able to, and that's kind of awesome. But this, like the actual word in its usage means teacher. And so it's not unlike in the West, like a doctor, right? Or getting your PhD, etc. And for me, I became a sensei by studying Reiki. And Reiki is a form of energy healing. So this is the practice. It's a lineage-based practice similar to a martial art that gives you certain forms similar to a martial art that gives you the ability to impart healing as well as to defend your own health. So there are parallels between a healing art and a martial art, but becoming a sensei for me was by studying the healing art of Reiki. And I'm a sensei 4 times over and counting, what otherwise in English called a Reiki Master teacher. So that means I can teach other masters as well as teach students. And I've achieved a certain level of study that gives me the right to do so. It's a lifelong passion of mine. Most Reiki masters don't use the rest of the Japanese words here in the West because, well, we're in the West. We learn in English. But when I studied with Reiki, my spirit guides educated me to really use the full lineage that I had inherited from my senseis, from my teachers and my teachers' teachers. And so that's how I became a sensei. No, I'm not going to drop kick you. I do box because I have fun with it, but I'm not like a boxing teacher. That's just part of my own personal fitness in terms of martial arts. But it's the way that I have the title sensei is as a Reiki master teacher, and that's master teacher in English. In Japanese, master teacher is sensei.
I think as soon as you said it means teacher in Japanese, I'm like, I think I need that. But I'm glad that you broke that down. I just listened over the weekend and it was really incredible. I highly recommend you listen to it. Dr. Lisa Miller has come out with a new book called The Awakened Brain, and she was on the Rich Roll podcast. I'm obsessed with Rich Roll. And she had made a really interesting point that, I mean, she's working, interestingly, directly with the U.S. military and bringing more spirituality. And they're like bringing it like from a policy level, from top down. And she was pointing out that, you know, it's not like a recent thing. It's 100 years in the making, or at least like post World War II, where there was kind of like this break in where the teacher stopped looking at every single student or, you know, young adult or child that was in front of them as like connected to them, you know, like as bringing, you know, as sort of like a mother or father figure for this individual, and more of like seeing how they could meet some sort of, you know, finite criteria to pass XYZ course, you know, like there was this disconnect and there being this general connectivity of humanity from teachers, you know, like that was sort of like the first interaction that we have as individuals to create this sense of like, oh, we're all in this together. I know that that's like a big part of your work, is bringing spirituality back into the mix. So what is your experience? And now particularly, you know, going into year 3 of the pandemic, you know, what are you seeing for entrepreneurs that maybe don't already have some sort of spiritual practice in their business or in their daily lives?
It is a constant search for a sense of power and confidence. That's what I've been seeing. This insatiable thirst and search for a personal sense of power and confidence. Because hitting back to what you said, you heard her talk about in that podcast about her new book, The Awakened Brain, and the disconnect between teacher and student, not being able to see oneself as part of the authority that you are encountering. What happens then is that authority becomes externally defined. Mm-hmm. So with authority being externally defined, we're chasing a sense of affirmation, a sense of validation, a sense of confirmation from externally or extrinsically based power sources, which is essentially disempowering to the individual. I'm a firm believer that every single individual is the center of all wisdom. That is a spiritual belief, though, right? That there is the wisdom within, the God within, the truth within, right? Going within as meditation draws us to do so. And what I see then with our sisters and brothers entrepreneurs, as well as our trans fam entrepreneurs, what happens is that we're looking for external validation. And on top of that, so we're already entering the game, looking for the external power source to acknowledge our validity. And then on top of that, we add money into the equation of like, okay, so in order for me to be successful, in order for me to feel safe, which is what me being successful is underneath, right? In order for me to feel safe, AKA be successful, according to the external definitions I've received in the past, I've got to express externally success according to what others have defined success is, such as I need a coaching certificate in order to be a valid coach. Even if I never coach somebody ever again, at least I paid the $97 or the $10,000 to get a piece of paper that says I'm valid, right? Or, I need to make $1 million in order to be a valid entrepreneur. And when people tell me that, that drives my behavior. Oh, become $1 million, blah, 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 right? Or make $1 million this year, or $1 million boss, or whatever. So when people use that externally defined idea of value, that drives my behavior to respond, because that's where the truth is. It's outside of me. All spiritual practice says the complete opposite, is that your truth, your value, your wisdom, your validation, your confidence, your energy is intrinsic, internally defined. And all spiritual practices draw us within to tap into that well of, as you would say, well-being, right? To tap into that well of wellness that we're walking around with every day, rather than desperately feeling thirsty, reaching for other people's wells when you've got one that you come batteries included with. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I love how you explain that. Can you break down, maybe there's a specific type of meditation that you tend to work with, and a little bit of the benefits, apart from like creating this grounding and this sense of you have the answers at the very least for yourself within. What are some of the benefits that you see for entrepreneurs or humans in general when they have, and do you insist that it's daily, or what does meditation look like for you in your practice?
I am also a firm believer in something called strategic meditation. And strategic meditation is meditation done first. Anything done with intention is done powerfully. So with that, the strategic meditation, let's say time schedule, is dependent upon the action taker. If you are about to do something that you need more energy and focus for, which by the way is the result of regular meditation, if you need more energy and you need more focus in order to do the thing, meditating first with intent to infuse the action you're about to take is powerful and empowering. So that's the type of meditation I teach. There are a lot of tools in the toolbox, and because there are a lot of tools in the toolbox, there can be a lot of jargon that comes from the spiritual and holistic health and wellness studies. You walk into, I'll give an example of jargon. One time about meditation in the workplace and how important it is. So how it reduces stress, it increases focus, which therefore increases productivity. Studies have shown it increases productivity 120% when a person meditates first before taking an action in the workplace. So it's like having a clone of yourself that's 20% better than you working alongside you at work. So it's very powerful. And I remember shaking hands with people and talking to them after the talk. And so one woman, bless her soul, came up to me and she said, I've never met a Reiki master before. I have leaves in my front yard, and I've never seen someone study how to rake leaves in a way that you can master it. I want to talk to you. Like, I'm curious about Reiki. And I'm like, I love your enthusiasm. And that's not at all. Yeah, that is not at all what Reiki means. It's a Japanese word, but so the jargon of like Reiki and shamanism and biodynamic craniosacral therapy or like theta, all that's like when we start saying that, it gets lost in translation.
Mm-hmm.
But long story short, the type of meditation I really focus on and help entrepreneurs and leaders focus on is adopting strategic meditation into their workflows. Like, we actually create SOPs, which is standard operating procedures for business owners, CEOs, right, team leaders, that integrate strategic meditation into their operations so that you increase and optimize the output naturally by being in alignment with the human machine, which is a mind, a body, and a spirit. So the more that we're able to integrate that into the operations, the more we increase productivity. So that's the type of meditation, strategic meditation.
You have it integrated into workflows. And I mean, one thing that I really stress is sort of the surprising impact of micro doses of things. People just think like meditating for a minute or 2 minutes is going to do what? Like they just don't believe it until they try it, obviously, because it seems kind of silly. But once you get into the practice, and I also love that you mentioned like the whole toolbox and the jargon, because for me, it's really important to stress to clients that there's no one size fits all wellness. And yes, set them up with a toolbox, but also the tools and the awareness to know when they need to implement something, and the permission that you're not supposed to implement all these things on the same day or the same season, or maybe even the same phase of your life, that there needs to be some flexibility in the plan. Mm-hmm. So I was curious to you, how do you explain the validity of these things? And do you get people to start out with, do they determine how many minutes they start out with, for example, or is that more of like a prescription depending on the company? How do you work?
Yeah. So how I work with companies and to introduce meditation to them is usually it starts with one person. The same way that if you're going to plant a garden of delicious food to be able to sustain you and the community around you, you start by planting a seed. And so usually in a company, there is a person who is in alignment with their spiritual seeking, right, or their curiosity around meditation or revitalizing and having their own personal revival, right, of valuing their intuition, etc. Or there's also that person or persons are quite stressed and they're looking for solutions because they're seeing the effect of stress on team performance. And so we start with the one person and letting them have an immersive experience of meditation and its benefits. Now, whether they're meditating with me or whoever, it's entirely up to them, but we tend to approach by giving an immersive experience of, okay, well, I see you're stressed. Meditation helps out with X, Y, and Z, right? Being able to know your stats and studies is also very important. People want to hear facts and figures, how important, like how around over 70% of entrepreneurs right now, studies show, are depressed. And that sitting is the new smoking, right? Most, like, what is around over 60% of deaths in women who are working professionals have to do with heart disease, and heart disease is fueled by sitting and a lack of exercise, a lack of cardiovascular health. So being able to adjust people's awareness by giving them stats and figures helps them to shift what they value.
Mm-hmm.
But it begins with one person. Think like planting a garden. You start with the seed, right? And as that one person has that immersive, right? You put the seed into the soil, has that immersive experience of meditation, learning more about it. Naturally, the seed will grow and they'll want to share about that. They'll want to express it to others. And this is what I've seen. That's someone came to one of my meditations. They absolutely loved it. And they started talking about it, and they brought it up to their ERG, and they brought it up to the whoever needed to. And then they started bringing me in, and I spoke there for, 6 consecutive years. But it's like how you move in is you focus on being open to immersing a person in the healing experience. We focus on getting them connected to their energy. And then from there, now that they've had a shift of state, then you educate on how to articulate it. What matters most is how you feel. If a person feels safe with the practice of meditation, if a person feels the shift in their body, that feeling will shift what they value. And that is the most important part. It's not about sitting there and trying to argue that this is important or convincing other people. Instead, it's making sure that your heart and your doors are open to the people who are seeking you out already. That's what I would say.
You have these very cool bits of rainbow that come across. I think there's a window in front of you or something, but at certain points when you're saying something really powerful, I swear it's really weird. These rainbows are jumping around you. Anyway.
Yeah, I have you're not going crazy.
You have something that's reflective in your window, don't you?
I have feng shui crystals, which are really great for bringing positive energy. And it's that time of day when the sun hits it and it shoots rainbows throughout the room. Where they hit, though, I cannot control. And when they light up, I also cannot control. I'm a firm believer that there's no such thing as coincidence. So as you are, look at that. They start to come up as I'm talking about them. There's no such thing as coincidence. I believe that the more that we welcome positive energy into our space, the more spirit gets to give her own commentary and her own validation of what is good and blessed and positive going on. I get the chills watching that.
Very cool. When you were speaking about helping corporations, it made me think of an interview I had with a woman named Megan Swan, and she's a teacher. I don't know if you know her. 3 Eyes is her book, but she's been trailblazing, getting meditation into schools for teachers and children. And, she was quite vulnerable and talking about how, sometimes for her, it was like meditating in her car before a meeting in the beginning. But then when she got more confident and more safe with the whole, and she's very, statistics science oriented too, because she said, that's what people need to hear that are not really buying into it in the beginning. And she's now at the point, I think, years into this work where she's often starts off a meeting and the whole team will take a minute meditation. And I just thought that was so powerful and, made me feel really optimistic that, this is being integrated on multiple levels of society. So is that the feeling that you get too, that it's just kind of exploding right now, the level of interest in bringing these sorts of tools into the workplace?
Oh my, yes, especially because the workplace has infiltrated the home.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks to the pandemic, people have been forced into self-reflection. It's forced into self-reflection, and there's the incredible isolation that can come from the self-reflection, as well as the insight and innovation that comes from the workplace infiltrating the home with the Zooms or the remote working and the quarantining in place, there's been, of course, a rise in depression and isolation, studies have shown, but there's also been an incredible explosion of innovation and insight, people coming up with the Great Resignation, right, is something that's been going on for around 6 months or so, especially that people now being forced to be home, they're forced to see that they want more from life, right? Or they're connecting deeper to their spirits, and quality of life is something that is now inescapable because of this forced situation of quarantining in place, right? Or staying safe, right? This idea of staying safe being broadcast and really adhered to at a corporate level. And so with that, I believe human beings are, when they are put in that isolated state, or into their home space, the place that they call home, I believe that you're brought into an audience with your spiritual nature and how you determine value in your life of like, okay, this is my home and this is work. This is home. This is where I express who I am, and this is work. And it has entered into the space where I express who I am. What does that do? How do I adjust? And can I bring who I am and the expression of who I am into work, since work has infiltrated the space home where I express that? And so all of those wonderful existential questions have come up and really increased the communal consciousness around quality of life, and spirit is always fundamentally part of that conversation. I am excited. Long story short, to answer your question, I'm excited of where.
No, I love your answer. Love it. Well, what are you working on currently? What did you want to share? And if people want to connect with you, what's the best way to reach out?
Yeah. So let's see. What I'm working on currently is sharing more about the movement that I started during the pandemic, and it's called the Be Visionary Movement. I believe that when more good people make good money, more good happens in the world. I believe that when good entrepreneurs feel good, they're able to get more good stuff done. And I believe that strategic meditation and having operations that are in alignment with good feelings are really the foundation to protecting our good entrepreneurs who are out there with good intentions. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I started the Be Visionary movement, was to integrate this and share more of the idea of having strategic meditation being integrated in our work operations as entrepreneurs, because we're called to service. And if you look at the 3 branches of the Dharma in Buddhism, service is one of the vehicles to enlightenment, according to the Buddha. So the more that we come with, I get the chills as I say that, the more that we come with positive intention in our work, the more positivity is being spread throughout the world. So I desire to protect those who come with positive intention with this idea of being visionary. And that's the idea behind integrating strategic meditations. I want to be clear on the vision. I want to be the vision that inspires others as I go out there and help my community. And so that's what we're working on currently. We meaning myself and my team and our community together, is the Be Visionary movement. And where people, especially because this is a podcast, can come find me and learn more about if you want to join the Be Visionary movement in any way, shape, and form. You can come to victoriawhitfield.com/podcast. Again, that's victoriawhitfield.com/podcast. And that's where we have all of the gifts and love and support for those who are our podcast listeners, as well as you can find out about this movement, how we are changing lives and changing communities by lifting up our leaders and making sure that they have the operations necessary to sustain them being the vision of that good, positive future that we all desire. Yeah.
Amazing. So important, your work. Love it. Well, thank you so much for your energy and your time and all of your wisdom that you shared this morning. I really, really enjoyed this conversation. I know the listeners will as well, and we'll share all the ways to connect with you in the show notes. And yeah, I don't know, any last parting words or anything else you want to share?
Absolutely. Parting words is, please today remember to be kind to yourself, because you do not have to lose your glow as you grow in life and business. Let's be, fam.
Beautiful. Well, thank you, Victoria. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for listening to Energetically You. I hope that this episode has helped you to tune into your natural energy sources so that you feel more energized and focused throughout your day. If you enjoyed the episode, please take a second to rate and review. Each review helps us to help more ambitious women just like you accomplish their goals. Don't forget to take a screenshot, share it on social or in your Instagram stories, and tag me at Megan Swan Wellness. See you soon.